Hello there, Perry Timms from the UK, big fan of Agile and also a practitioner within the HR and organisation design and change world. My pleasure to share with you some thoughts about Agile and learning. So let's get straight into it with the slides and me to talk you through them. So I've called this Agile and the Learning Ripple. So yeah, I'm a proud member of the CRPD, chartered member, and written a couple of books that have included quite a lot of the concepts of Agile within them. And actually the enterprise I consult with and founded in 2012 has a lot of Agile practices and teaches and uses Agile in all sorts of ways. And I guess this session is really all about the aspect of learning, both how you learn to use and be more Agile, but the learning that comes from applying and working with Agile. So that's the Agile impact on the learning ripple it creates. So just a tiny bit about the company that I founded, as I mentioned. We're activists in positive change in the world of work. We're a certified B Corporation, a climate positive organisation. We operate on 4-day working week, so we don't operate on Wednesdays, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday only, and we're an accredited living wage employer as well. So yeah, let's get straight into the kind of work we do. We live Agile. Our approaches are about people-powered change and innovation, autonomous, agile and inclusive ways of working, using design and systems thinking that creates regenerative energy for people to build the next stage in organization design through conscious business models and strategies. But let's get straight into it. Agile is the natural transformed state of work. So if we go back to Agile's roots through the technology world, it's gone beyond that now, and it's much more about agility being applied, and the practices and the rituals and the learning that's come from the technology world has crossed over into change, innovation, and other forms of operating in the world of work. So very much a transformation, a metamorphosis. Work is no longer industrial and linear. It is agile, responsive, iterative, adaptive, and also incredibly powerful in accelerating change and transformation itself. And so if we look at this, it's been with us for quite some time. It's been building for 170 years, as it says there. Auguste Comte, who you see there on the left, French philosopher, studied not only the working systems of the industrial world that he was in France, but also the interactions of people and how much they either deviated from processes or added to, adapted, how their moods fluctuated, how their relationships were important and intrinsic to how work was getting done. And so he coined the concept of sociocracy, about the interrelations between us and its impact on the systems that we operate in. And I could read out all of the various stages in this infographic, but through various iterations, the systems of work have gone through a number of evolutions and changes that have included both the mechanics and the interrelationships with people. So it's mechanics and psychology, it's systems and relationships. And so we can see some of the more influential teaching and learning within this, and the books that are listed over on the right-hand side: Scrum, Freedom Inc., Reinventing Organizations, Humanocracy, and the Spotify model are just some standouts of that journey from the discovery of the sort of sociocratic principles of how we operate through to the agile, applied, iterative and lean and effective systems of work. So yeah, 170 years, long time. Agile is no new fad. And then if we look at Agile, though, lots of people will say, but it's all about post-it notes and complex, fancy terminology. So this little story that you see on screen now is far from the overwhelm or the gimmick or fad that people think Agile might be. It's about problems. It's about solving problems. It's about ownership and accountability. It's about stories that bring to life in a very vivid way what work we're there to do, It focuses intensely on people, what they feel, what they need, how they operate, how they could operate, and is built around some very sharply focused tasks, self-allocated tasks, adaptive tasks, broken down tasks, worked on in as rapid a way as possible, with self-determination, self-allocation, and self-regulation within, split into manageable schemes and sprints, using some concepts that help map out the journey, and a series of short bursts of connectivity, decision-making, clarity that ultimately reveals a solution to a problem that works. And learning is imbued throughout this process. So no, it's not fancy terminology. Yes, it's deliberately framed differently so that we can create a separation in our minds from the language of industrial linear processing to agile, responsive, adaptive, creative problem solving. So these terms are deliberately part of the learning cycle of how you become and apply more agile principles to your work. And here's the kind of traditional agile flow. And again, it looks linear because it has a start and it has an end. And that's just because of the life cycle of a piece of work. It begins with a problem to solve, an opportunity to capitalize upon, and it ends with a solution, a product, a service, something that solves that problem and capitalizes on the opportunity. And the stages within may look linear, but they can be revisited and it's more cyclical. So this is purely to present in a sort of readable fashion. But now let's look at the learning ripple. Because when we start to think about agile and this flow, our first point of learning is the problem itself. We learn how to deeply diagnose, create problem statements, and use concepts like design thinking approaches to frame issues and aspirations. And if there's one thing I've learned in all of my time working in learning development, organization development, change, and performance, is that that's not always the case. There's always the temptation to look at a superficial surface level of an issue to create a learning solution to, when there's much more to it, much more depth, much more complexity, much more to reveal. Agile helps us with a really, really strong sense how we define that problem. I think Einstein once said, if I wanted to solve a problem, I'd spend 99% of the time thinking how to do it and 1% of the time actually doing it. The next point of learning that ripples through Agile is we can learn how to purposefully be accountable and steward others to success. This is not dogmatic, dominant leadership. This is setting a vision. This is absolutely trusting in people. This is saying, I will give you the opportunity to succeed because I think you have more in you to create the solution than I do. Despite my rank, my experience, and my professionalism, I want other people to come and put their creative brains to good use, but I'll steward and hold the space, and I will lead not by power, I will lead by inspiration. So we can learn how to do that. Next point of learning that ripples through this process is we can learn how to lead a process and individuals and energy, but not individuals. We don't go through strict, controlled management routines with this. We coach, we guide, we support, we enable, we challenge, but we don't manage to the point that people feel inferior or like a parent with a childlike relationship. So much more adult, much more mature, much more about people's capacity, agency, and capability, and getting the best from those people in a collective environment. Now, our next learning ripple is how we assemble that team. And Agile's famous for having people come from different disciplines, from having people who start and continue and end with a particular project and venture, who aren't there because they have a particular badge of professionalism, but it's based on intent, options. And people even can use an agile process flow to actually learn about something that's not within their normal working domain. So this is learning how to be more inclusive, creative, how people can build more confidence and competence in the flow of work. So it's about intent, not about professional experience and rank and role. The next learning point that ripples through this is we can learn how to craft narratives rather than business models, plans, and business cases. This is how we can bring an issue to life and how we can then create the solution to that in a very vivid, imaginative, very compelling and emotive way. So product stories in the Agile cycle give us a fantastic way to inspire people, guide them, and frame what is possible in creating this solution. Much more appealing to humans, much more likely to excite and enthuse them and really give their all to the potential solution to be made from this process. And then our next learning point is learning how to be more empathic, use evidence, and be inclusive about the needs of people. If there's one thing I will say about my profession in HR is that it's been very good at creating policies to capture the 1% deviation from proper governance and due diligence, rather than actually thinking about the 99% of people who comply, who need enabling support and safety in what they're doing. And so what Agile gives us the chance to do is create users for our stories for our users and bring them to life and understand their world and build it from their perspective, not from what do I think the best thing is, but what do they need? What would absolutely enhance and enrich and improve work they do, decisions they make, and services they provide. And the penultimate learning point here is that we have a terrific opportunity to invite people to learn how to size work, to understand the scale of what they're up against, the complexity, the intensity, and also just the hours involved in doing this work. We can ask them also to learn how to plan iteratively, how they can harness their creativity that doesn't take projects off the track that you need, but that enhances how it functions, how it impacts, and what value it creates. We can ask people to learn more about how you collectively decide, how you can track plot progress without being managed by somebody else. So it creates a really growth environment for people to operate in, where they can take accountability, build clarity, create togetherness, but also harness all of that creative passion to solve that problem. And then the final learning point within Agile that ripples through it is retrospectives and reviews are hardwired in the Agile cycle. I've never seen a schema of work that really puts learning as the key moment of how we reflect, how we can adjust and adapt, how we can respond, and how we can learn for the next time we face a project and a problem to solve using an Agile principle, what we can carry over into that, learning how to continually improve and leverage wisdom. That's what I think the learning ripple is all about within Agile. So if there are people out there saying, why should we go Agile? Yes, it's quicker. Yes, it's more creative. Yes, it requires a departure from orthodox systems of management controls, documentation, dominance. But actually, it's an environment that ripples out from learning individually, learning collectively, and learning how to create a better system of work. Here's a story of a team I worked with a couple of years ago based in Raiffeisen Bank in Bucharest in Romania. Their challenge was to stop people leaving this wonderful organization after their initial induction and probation period simply to be offered more money by competitors. And this team wanted to solve that problem, and they took an Agile approach, and they learned so much about managers, about how managers wanted onboarding to be, how graduates and career changers and new people to the bank wanted their onboarding to be, and what would make a difference, and what really helped people not be attracted by simply a higher salary package. And they took themselves through a 4 to 5 month cycle. They iterated on their assumptions and challenged them and changed them. They worked collectively with managers and new employees. They used data. They used experiments. They built products and services and made changes that solved a problem that was costing this organization significant amounts of money, but loss of human expertise. And all because they learned while they were doing this Agile approach to solving the problem. And since some of this team, largely based in HR, now work in the Revise and Bank technology team as Scrum coaches and as Agile exponents of how you bring people to the heart of your problem-solving activities. Yes, lots of people will say Agile doesn't work in HR, but there's a lot of books out there that will tell you otherwise, mine included, but Pia Maria Torren's Agile People, Natal Dankamrina Hellstrom's Agile HR, Kareem Harbert's 6 Enablers of Business Agility, Linda Holbeach's Agile Organisation, and none other than Mr. Learning in the Flow of Work, Josh Bursin, has done some research and revealed that HR teams are intending to adopt Agile practices to the scale of 2/3 of them, and 1/3 of them are already starting to operate in that way. So the writing's on the wall for HR. It will be Agile. It will operate with Agile. It will learn through Agile. There's the team that I have the pleasure of being part of, and we all practice our agility. Thanks for the time. My contact details are over there on the right. If you wanted to talk to me about Agile and the Learning Ripple, happy to do that anytime. Enjoy the rest of your event, and thanks very much for listening to me, and enjoy your Agile learning rippling. Thank you.